Let me take this opportunity and welcome you, National Police Commissioner, Major General Setlatle, Fani Masemola, Tauyatswako, Khoshiaka. Honorable members, we have our second witness here, who is the leader of the institution of the SAPS. I am going to check with yourselves before we allow the senior counsel to make an opening statement. Are you happy, honorable members, that Major General Masemola is properly served before you? The statement has been uploaded with yourselves on Monday. There were improvements that were made to the statement, and it has been accordingly sent to yourselves. I do not see any member who wishes to speak. My assumption is that all of you are welcoming him to these proceedings, and you strongly feel that we must proceed with him. Senior counsel, may I please hand over to you? Where is that? I don't want to read.
Good morning, Honourable Chair, honourable members, General Masemola, National Commissioner, my colleagues, Larato and Maria. They're still okay. My other colleagues from the parliamentary team, legal team, has been assisting us. Members of the media, members of the public. Good morning, everyone. Honourable Chair,
before you proceed, there is something that we must correct. You know, this ranks in the police is General Masemola, not Major General. I'm being corrected. You know, when you say Major General, I thought it was the highest rank. So the highest rank is General. So that is what he is. The appropriate title is General Masemola. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairperson, Honourable Chairperson. Chairperson, we had made an opening statement in terms of the evidence that we intend to present, the order of witnesses, etc. So that's already part of the record. Just by way of opening, the statement, General Masemola's statement, was posted on SharePoint on Monday already. The hard copies were only made available yesterday, however, and that was due to the fact that we wanted to avoid a similar situation to what happened the other day when Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi testified and there was an issue about his statement. That has now been fixed, and General Masemola has been through his statement. He's signed his statement, and we are ready to proceed, Chairperson. and I would humbly request that that General Masemola be sworn in as a witness, and we can commence.
Okay. Thank you so much, Senior Counsel. And good morning once again, General Masemola. I want to request that we take you through the administration of oath. And let me make the following statement before we administer oath. General Masemola, you have been invited to appear before the ad hoc committee to investigate the allegations by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, and also to provide information in relation to those allegations made for the purpose of ad hoc committee oversight, investigating those allegations. The allegations include, amongst others, the alleged unlawful disbandment of the political killings task team or force, which is otherwise known as the PKT team. The alleged moratorium on the filling of vacancies within the South African Police Services, and alleged corrupt relationship between senior leadership within SAPS and members of the public, as well as police interference in the work of the SAPS. In extending this invitation, the ad hoc committee chairperson has indicated that you may provide such information to the committee, if you so wish, under oath in terms of the powers, privileges, and immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act. You have indicated that you wish to take the oath so as to be afforded the protections as provided in the Powers and Privileges Act 2004. Please be informed that by law, you are required to answer fully and satisfactorily all the questions lawfully put to you, or to produce any document that you are required to produce in connection with the subject matter of the inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the document could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or damages. You have, however, you are, however, protected in the evidence given under oath or affirmation before a house or a committee may not be used against you in any court or place outside Parliament, except in criminal proceedings concerning a charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or document required in these proceedings. Please be aware that in terms of Section 17, subsection 2 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures, of persons who willfully furnish a house or a committee with information or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading, commits an offense and is liable to a fine or imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. You are required to take an oath or affirm that the evidence you are about to give is truthful. You may choose to take oath or the affirmation. And General, I have already indicated here that you have you have elected to take oath. Is that correct?
Good morning, Honorable Chair and members. No, I will elect to affirm, Honorable Chair.
Okay. If you choose to affirm, then you will follow the following dictation. You will say your full names, and that you solemnly affirm that the evidence that you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. I allow you to take the affirmation.
I, Sihlahle Fani Masemula, I affirm that the evidence that I shall give shall be the truth and only the truth and nothing else.
Thank
I
you so-
affirm so.
Yeah. Thank you so much, General. Senior Counsel, I'm handing over to you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, honourable members. General, good morning again. In terms of the approach that I am going to adopt, I've discussed it briefly with you. I don't intend to ask you to read your statement. You've obviously read your statement, and you've signed your statement, and you've made that available to the Honourable Committee, and in due course that statement will also become available to the media and to the public. It's a statement. Can you just confirm that this is your statement that you made to the evidence leaders in your consultations that you've had with us?
Honorable Chair, I do confirm that it is my statement I made with the evidence leaders.
Thank you. So, just in terms of the structure and the approach that I intend to adopt, we're going to look at some background matter, just to briefly put that on record. I then want to pause and just look at the structure of the SAPS and the constitutional responsibilities, especially between yourself and the Minister. That is in the affidavit at page 9. And then, of course, we will look at to one of the central aspects of this inquiry, the formation of the PKTT, the Political Killing Stars team, the performance of that team, your involvement, if any, with the team. Then we look at the Minister's directive that calls for the immediate disestablishment of the team. We will then focus on an email, because it's alleged that she had sent an email to Lieutenant General Sabia in relation to the directive. We will also discuss your meeting with the President, where the PKTT was discussed with him. your meeting with the...
Or Senior Counsel, the honorable member is struggling to hear you.
So
Chair, maybe if you can pull the mic towards him a little bit. I was struggling to hear him.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Apologies, Honourable Members. Is that a bit better?
Let's just hold it there. Honorable Ngola.
Is there a volume that one can... Is that...
Switch it off, that one. Yeah. I think, Chair, generally, I get what Mr. Nomvalo is saying. Generally, the sound here is so low in the chamber. If there's, our support team can consult up there if they can't work out something. It's very low. Even yourself, Chair, you are low in terms of the voice. So I think it's the chamber itself. So if they can look at it from that angle. Thank you.
Yeah, we do need the aircon, but it is also quite loud. Can you hear me now?
Must we switch off the aircon?
Sorry? Okay. May I proceed, Honourable Chair? Thank you. Sorry, General. So we're just looking at the themes that we will focus on. The meeting that you attended on the 5th of March before the Police Committee here in Parliament. The meeting the very next day, the 6th of March, where there was a presentation. Minister was also, there was a presentation on the winding down plans for the task team. We will spend some time looking at the Media 24 Tswani contract, the Medicare contract. We'll deal with at annexes SFM 22 and SFM 23. In your statement, you referred to some false narratives in the media. We'll deal with that. And then we'll focus lastly again on the PKTT. So just confirm, please, that these are all topics that are covered in your statement, your sworn statement, and that you are familiar with these topics and that you would be comfortable in dealing with them in your evidence.
I do confirm, Honourable Chair.
Thank you. As discussed with you in our briefing meeting this morning, I indicated to you that the approach will be somewhat different to the approach adopted in the Commission, because we only have you here today and tomorrow. You won't be recalled to be examined or re-examined or cross-examined, rather, by other, especially persons who are implicated in this process. So we have to ask as many questions. Hopefully you regard them as relevant to the terms of reference as possible. So we may, as it were, go off your statement and ask you about other matter for your comment. If you have any knowledge about them, then you will no doubt respond. If you don't, you just need to indicate that you are not able to comment. Is that in order?
That's in order, Honourable Chair, members.
Thank you. So, General, just you just by way of background, also you You are familiar with the terms of reference of this committee, and we're not going to go over that again. That you will find from page 3 and 4, 5 of your affidavit. General?
Yeah, that's correct. I am familiar, Honorable Chair.
Okay. So if we may just pause at paragraph 11, page 6 of your statement, which is a summary of what is doubtless a distinguished record in the South African police services, a long and distinguished record, which ultimately resulted in your appointment as the National Commissioner in March 2022. And we also see that you had already been a recipient of the SAPS Gold Medal for Outstanding Service, and that you have various specializations such as extensive experience in negotiation, peacekeeping, crisis management, and interdepartmental coordination.
That is correct, Honorable Chair.
It seems you need all of this now.
Yeah, it looks like.
We need your extensive experience. So, is there anything specific that you want to mention under that heading of your experience and your qualification that you want to add, or that you may want to elaborate upon?
Thanks, Honorable Chair and members. I think, yeah, everything is clear. Well, I can summarily say I joined the police back in 1987, and I worked in various provinces, including Western Cape during the apartheid times. I worked in the Free State for quite long. I worked in Gauteng. I worked in KZN as unit commander, POP, and later I worked as national head of operations in Pretoria, head office. And I worked as a deputy provincial commissioner in KwaZulu-Natal for 10 years. I left in 2010 and worked as a divisional commissioner for protection and security service from 2010 until 2011, and 5 months I worked as acting divisional commissioner for crime intelligence, and thereafter I worked as a deputy national commissioner for policing in 2012. In 2013, I went to Limpopo as a provincial commissioner, and in 2016, back to head office as a deputy national commissioner policing, and in 2022, 1st of April, as you say, then I was appointed as national commissioner of SAPS.
Thanks, General. Honorable Chair, there's some... Okay. Yeah, we can... Is it outside? Yeah. Thank you, General. So, just in terms of your experience having been appointed in March 2022, that would have been by our current president.
That is correct, Honorable Chair.
Since 2022 to date, just in summary form, what would you describe, or how would you describe the state of policing in our country?
Well, I will describe the state of policing as, well, quite challenging, taking into account various factors that the country is facing since COVID-19. The country has never been the same. There is a lot of unemployment, and that also brings the element of crime and new crime. And of course, most of the countries, they are looking for where they can look for gold or something to eat. And that South Africa, unfortunately, becomes a destination of choice. It recall a few years ago that South Africa as a country signed quite a number of treaties. We have a free protocol on movement, freedom of movement in Africa, AU. We have got also the protocol on freedom of movement in SADC, but that does not in practice mean people will move from here to north. It means they all move south, which makes the resources of the country to be under pressure, and as a result, crime becomes a problem, new forms of crime that is imported in the country. Policing is quite under pressure, and unfortunately, the society look for everything from police. They expect if a child don't go to school, it's a problem of police. If the spouses have confrontation, where were the police? And so it's quite challenging. The policing of today can never be associated or described as the policing of 30 years ago. It's quite challenging and requires, of course, new ideas. And currently, South African Police Service, we are trying our best to cope with what we have, but we do have, of course, limitation of resources. Resources are not in abundance, and population and challenges are growing far more faster than what we have. Thank you very much.
So, General, just in summary, well, firstly, the one thing I didn't notice is that you don't have expertise in social work or social development, because it seems to me that's a necessary qualification now for a police officer too. Just
Yes.
from what you describe, you now expected when children are not going to school and there's issues with them. Of course, domestic violence, especially gender-based violence, is a huge problem in our country. So a lot of social problems too that you have to deal with.
That is true, Honorable Chair. I normally say that you do not go into a McDonald's and order a beer. You don't do that. But with regard to South African Police Service, that is the case. We expect police to work and deal with criminals and show a certain posture. But at the same time, when they get to the victim, be it of gender-based violence or any other victim, then we expect the same person to have a different face. Whereas in reality, we should be saying police deal with criminals and let those that are trained to deal with social issues deal with those issues on a 24-hour basis and not expect one person to have double face. Thank you very much.
So you mentioned, however, a number of challenges, and we describe them as challenges: migration, unemployment, poverty, those kinds of challenges which tend to give rise to crime and puts the police service under tremendous strain.
That is correct, Honorable Chair.
Now, however, would you describe the police service as being in a state of crisis? Or are you managing the crisis?
I will not describe it as a state that the police service is in a state of crisis. Well, the police that are working in South Africa are from the society and community of South Africa. And what you find in the police is what you find in the society. So you cannot see them in isolation from what is happening in the society. Currently, one cannot describe it as a state of disaster because all of you that are here, you woke up, you left home. You either left a domestic worker alone, or you left a gardener, or you left somebody, and you will go back home and still find everything intact, find your vehicle. And banks are out there. We know that there is money in the bank. It was there last night. It is still there now. Well, there will be now and then crimes that happens. So that tells you that there is police in the country that are doing their work. Not that we don't have challenges. We do have challenges, both internal and external. But however, also, internally, we are doing our best to correct the wrongs that are there and root out and address those that off-ramp from the principles. But of course, also, there is external challenges from the society that also is getting into the organization and infiltrating the organization. So I will not say there is problems in the country, but I will not say we reach a stage of crisis. No, thank you very much.
Now, thank you, General. Now, some of the wrongs that you refer or allude to, some of it were manifested in a media briefing on the 6th of July by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. And you're familiar with that, and we're going to spend a bit of time also just looking at what he said at that media briefing. But he raised a number of issues there that has and has caused a lot of consternation amongst the public, people of our country, and they are concerned that if that is the state of the police, then they are worried. Your comment?
Yeah, thanks. I'm aware, yes, of that press briefing. And yes, I'm also do acknowledge that, yes, those matters are worrying. Definitely where there is some disruption or infiltration from criminality into the police. It is indeed matters that are worrying that needs to be rectified.
I speak subject to correction, but I do recall one of the honourable members asking General Mkhwanazi yesterday, last night, could have been around 11 o'clock or 11:30, so I may, my recollection may let me down. But someone asked him about the state of the police, and he's since this media briefing on the 6th, and I think his answer was that it's better than it was on the 6th of July, and there's been some improvements. I'm not sure whether you're able to comment on that, and whether some of these issues raised by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi at the media briefing on the 6th, whether some of these issues have been addressed or even remedied or corrected.
I would say, Honorable Chair, yes, some of the matters there has been improvement. For example, with regard to enrollment of cases, I would say it improved quite drastically. In the past, I know that it would take various members and/or even the PKTT tremendous effort to get cases enrolled, and they will be shown from one pillar to post, and nobody being prepared to make a decision, because it's either you make a decision whether there is a case or there is no case to answer, simple as that. But they will be shown from pillar to post, but I'm sure the relevant team members, if any of them comes here, will be able to be specific on those, which required number of meetings. But yes, there's been a difference since then to today.
And I think, to be fair, I didn't hear Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi say that that the police is in a state of crisis, certainly not in a crisis of a nature that we can't fix. He said very clearly that by and large, things still work. Police still do their work. There's a lot of, I think, as he described them, good men and women in the force doing an honest day's work. And that seems to accord with what you said earlier, is that things are working.
Yeah, no, it's true, Honorable Chair. As I said, yes, there are problems. We agree in the police, and we are trying our best to fix them. But we need support of everyone. We need support of the executive. We need support of parliamentarians. We need support of society. But of course, the practice is when you try to fix problems in the police, and people will run all over and involve yourself as members of parliament, involve other people, the executive, twisting facts and making facts to sound as if they are being victimized. And as a result, that disrupts the whole process of fixing or overhauling certain areas. So that, unfortunately, is what continues to repeat itself. Not that we are not doing anything as management of SAPS. We do attend to the problems. If I may be specific, let's say problems of crime intelligence. We were trying to fix them. With the former minister, Kele, I must say, we had a plan on how to fix it. We started halfway, it was new administration, he left, and then the new minister came, and unfortunately I never had opportunity to brief him, but we had plans to agree that let's make time brief and talk about the problems that are there in order to fix. So yes, they come a long way. And it's not that people are being targeted. It's about just correcting the wrongs and getting the organization to work more better. That's what we actually were looking for, or we were doing.
Now, apart from the social and other ills that we have in our country, which impact on the police service, we also worryingly hear and read about and hear from Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi that there are problems in the in the upper echelons, higher echelons of the service, which we will discuss.
Yes, yeah, there are problems, but it's not problems that are beyond to be resolved. They can be resolved.
Yeah, no, I think we're all happy to hear that they're not unsolvable or irresolvable, and that we can fix them. Because you would agree it's important that they must be fixed.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yes, it's problems that have to be or need to be fixed.
I mean, if we look at your own position as the highest ranking official in our police service, over the past, how many years, we've had so many national commissioners, acting national commissioners. And I think hopefully you heading in that direction, but I don't think any of our national commissioners serve a full term. You've been appointed for 5 years, is that correct?
That is correct, Honorable Chair.
So your term will end somewhere in 2027.
That is correct.
Yeah. So you at least heading in the right direction, but none of our other national commissioners have even finished a term. One of the things that this honourable committee is mandated to look at and to present recommendations to the National Assembly is, how do we restore trust and confidence in the police?
Okay, thanks. I do agree that I'm sure, yes, the committee should look at that. But whether one ends the term, we will never know. But of course, I would want to finish the term. But sometimes it's not determined by the individual. It's determined by somewhere. It's determined somewhere in a little corner and cooked there and said, no, this one must now go. And they will fight tooth and nail to make you to go. So it's unfortunately the situation. But it's something that can be managed and averted if there is cooperation by respective role players.
I'm interested that you use the word they. Who are they, General? Because you are appointed by the President.
Yes, I'm appointed by the President, but you will find that there will be criminal cartels that will go into a little corner, connive, and come up with a case. At the end of the day, whether there is a case or there is no case, the fact of the matter is you have been removed. That is the most important. So that's the reality of the situation.
So are you saying that despite the fact, and it's a constitutional obligation on the President, despite the fact that the President makes the appointment of a national commissioner, it's still subject to outside third-party influence?
Yes, it's subject to, yes, quite a lot of other factors, as I said. The President appoints the national commissioner and you do the work, but there will be outside parallel structures that would want to take charge of the national commission. If they can't, they will find ways of seeing how then can we remove him and replace him. So actually from day one, when you get appointed, there are already those that are working day and night to see how we can remove him. So it's not a calling that you are there, you are focusing on solely fighting crime. You are fighting crime, but you are also distracted on the sides. There is many plans, day and night, that are being concocted on how can we get rid of him. They've got ulterior motives, and if they can't get what they want, they'll always keep planning. If a plan fails, they'll go for plan B, so it continues. Or plan C or D, whatever. That's how it happens.
So, does this take place within the police? Or is it both inside the force or the service and outside? Or is there a combination or a correlation between the two?
Yeah, it's mostly a combination of external and there might be some few inside. So that's how it happens.
Because it seems to be alleged by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi that this is the case. The infiltration of the police service and of other sectors of our society, even the judiciary claims, correctional services, the magistracy, that there's this attempt to influence the direction in which the police should go or must go.
Yeah, no,
Do you identify with that allegation?
Yeah, some of them I heard of them, but I know that it's not a sweeping statement to say everybody in the JCP justice cluster or judiciary. No, it will be certain figures that in all areas, be it within the judiciary, some, and even in the criminal justice system, it's not everybody. It will be some few individuals that will come together and do. They go on places and caucus and plan as to what they want to do. So it's not to say everybody is involved. No, it's some small groupings and cartels that, or you can call it a gang, that will plot this. And if that whatever they plot fails, they'll start another one, or another group will start something else somewhere. So, yes, of course, the whole purpose is to take control, and which, of course, we are not allowing that to happen. But of course, remember, we deal with people that are sophisticated, that knows what they are doing. So it takes time and quite challenging to get to them because they know how to play the system.
Thank you, General. So I suppose we, and especially in this honorable committee, in terms of their mandate and in terms of what they need to propose to the National Assembly, they can only do what they can do. Now, one of the issues raised by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi and which this honorable committee can perhaps give guidance to the National Assembly on how to fix it is a statement that a big problem in the police is the mechanisms of appointment of high-ranking police officials, that there doesn't appear to be an alignment in the way high-ranking officials, and I'm going to take it to some specific provisions, and that this causes a conflict and could well be the reason that you have some of these issues that have arisen, especially in relation to the allegations that he makes. I mean, the one, I think, fairly obvious allegation he makes is that when people are appointed in the police, just generally speaking, they are not properly vetted. People join the force for various reasons, sometimes only because they need a job. There's unemployment. Other people join because they've got ulterior motives to get into the police. Other people join because there's nepotism. There's all kinds of reasons other than what he says are the right reasons, certainly why he joined the police, and that is to serve his country. So perhaps just that first comment about the sort of proper due diligence and vetting of individuals joining the police. Are you satisfied that proper procedures and processes are being followed to make sure that we have the right caliber of person becoming a police officer in this country?
Yeah, I think we are doing our best, but I will not say yes, all of them are vetted. Let me put it in this fashion. For quite some time, the division that is responsible for doing this function, that is vetting, that is crime intelligence. Well, people planned at some point earlier, the years around 2009, 2010, most of the systems, especially in the JCPS systems, have been scrambled. And of course, coming from in the previous, for example, the vetting capacity of crime intelligence, I think around 2010-11, there were not more than 7 people. And if you take 7 people against, well, at some point the police service was 200,000, surely you can see that the plan is for sure that they can't really touch anywhere. And we have since increased the number, but of course they are not yet at the right number. At least we increased the number to vet, but I can confirm that we are not at a stage where we can say we are comfortable. But with regard to our senior management, yes, every year they submit financial disclosures. We do a lifestyle audit internally. Where there are red flags, we investigate them, and we identify risks. So much so that I can even say that the IMSA, which is the risk management institution of South Africa, this year they gave an award to, I think last week they gave an award to South African Police Service as the best public department in managing and applying risk management. But what then is not yet home is that we don't have the capacity to fully vet the whole 186 workforce. We are still building that capacity. But luckily, with regard to senior management, in April this year, in as much as we have internally done our own lifestyle audit, I approached the SIU, Special Investigation Unit, and they do have a capacity. I said, no, come and vet us so that we can be vetted by an independent body, not that I undermine the internal, but it's best to have it done externally. And we had various meetings, and they will soon be about to start. We have cleared all the shortfalls or problems that were on the way, and there will be vetting. The senior management is about 840 or so. So they will start there. By myself, all the deputies going down, vetting everyone, auditing everyone. So that's what is coming now, which is independent than what we were doing ourselves. And the crime intelligence capacity, we increased last year or 2 years ago, we gave them 300 people. Last year, we gave them, I think, another 600 and 1,000 this year. So, and we also said boost the vetting capacity so that at the end of the day, we can be able to vet everyone. But for now, the SIU, they are going to concentrate, as I said, on the senior management. From there, there are areas that we have identified: your financial directorate, supply chain directorate, your port of entries. So there are areas that we identified which they will, after senior management, go in there.
I think we're pleased to hear that, General, especially about the lifestyle audits of senior management, because it's an obvious start that we need to make to ascertain whether or not, quite simply, people are living beyond their means. You're not in agreement?
I am in agreement, Honorable Chair, that yes, that will also look at everyone and see whether nobody live beyond his means, regardless of who you are. So that's the right thing to do.
Except that, how do you do a lifestyle audit of members of the force who are involved in covert intelligence, in covert activities? And some of them, for the activities, they say, no, they must drive a Lamborghini or a Ferrari or live in a lovely house as a front or as a cover for the work that they do. Or is there a special unit that would be able to do those lifestyle audits?
We do have members of the Auditor General South Africa that audit that environment. So now when we involve the SIU also, there will be those of them that obviously we will vet them. And after we vet them, then we'll allow them to get into that environment, understand it, and then be able to vet those. There will be nothing. There will be no limitations. Nothing wrong. If you do your work, you do your work. But they will be able to do the lifestyle audit.
Thank you. Now, I just want to spend some few minutes on the structure of the police and in particular management, and get to this point made by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi about, and then you've appointed Lieutenant General Sabia as the head of the detectives.
That's correct.
But does he, and under that falls crime intelligence, of course, detective services and forensic services?
That is correct, Honorable Chair.
And then you've got, is it Lieutenant General Vuma for police support?
That is correct.
Now those appointments, you make those appointments as the National Commissioner?
Yeah, well, some I appointed, some I found them there.
You yourself, you're appointed, and the provincial commissioners are appointed in terms of our Constitution and the Police Act by the President.
I am appointed by the president, and then I appoint provincial commissioners
In concurrence with
in concurrence with the provincial executive.
That's right. And your appointment would be for a limited period of 5 years, although renewable.
Yeah, it's limited to 5 years, myself and both also the provincial commissioners.
But where you make appointments like you have, those appointments are up to 7 years, but no longer than 10 years.
No, the appointments we make, if it's deputy national commissioners or divisional commissioners or any other senior manager, those appointments they don't have a period.
So where appointments are made under the Police Act by you, those appointments for an unlimited period is like a permanent.
Yeah, they are permanent, correct.
Okay.
Unless whoever the next national commissioner, when he comes, he decide to restructure the police service in terms of the Police Act allows him, and he can then reappoint them anew or take them somewhere else. It depends, but those appointments are permanent. For example, I think with me, like General Vuma, she was appointed by the previous national commissioner with myself as the deputies that time. So, and she's still here now. In as much as we did undertake restructuring, but the restructuring of this tenure now is different to the ones that the previous national commissioners have, where they do a wholesale restructuring. The current one that I introduced was that we address only areas where there is a need. It's not a wholesale restructuring. For example, we have the police currently is national, provincial, and district, and then local. But the districts are very big, very huge, unmanageable for one person. So the restructuring that I undertook now, well, did touch on some of the national components a little bit. Not everybody is affected, but it's more concentrated on districts that are too big. For example, let's take Johannesburg as a district. There is over 40 police stations, or over 60 police stations. Even here in Western Cape, over 40 police stations in the Cape Metropole. So to expect one person to manage those number of police stations is just unacceptable. You can't manage so many. So the current restructuring, which we are still implementing, is focusing more on creating sub-districts so that there are small manageable sub-district reporting to the district.
I want us just to focus though on the sort of most senior positions and to try and explore this issue of a tension and a conflict, because we also see that in terms of Chapter 6A of the Police Act, the Directorate for Priority Crime Prevention, established under the Act, that is that's a ministerial appointment with the concurrence of the cabinet for a period of not shorter than 7 and not exceeding 10 years.
Yeah, that is correct, but that is a ministerial appointment, which the National Commissioner have got nothing to do with it.
Now, is that not a problem, that you have nothing to do with it? Given this position, I mean, just briefly described to us we can look at the Act, but the Directorate of Priority Crime Prevention is clearly a very critical position. And arguably a number of these offences allegedly committed by certain individuals mentioned by Lieutenant Mkhwanazi would fall under this category of priority crimes, wouldn't it?
Yes, Honourable Chair, it is correct. The National Commissioner is not involved in the appointment. Well, it looks like it depends, I'm sure, from minister to minister. Some ministers will involve the National Commissioner in the selection of the appointment of the national head of DPCI. Some will choose not to involve the National Commissioner. So it looks like it's a prerogative of the minister. However, yes, National Commissioner is the accounting officer for the whole department. But the legislation do allow, do dictate that the national head of DPCI reports to the minister, and the National Commissioner is responsible for administrative support. In other words, budget-wise, I provide, and he will manage the budget and the resources. And determination of posts, he will finalize that with the minister, and on this side, I do provide only support. And if there is insufficient funds, well, there is nothing I can do. But the challenge with this type of configuration is that you are partially accounting for something. You are partially accounting and not fully accounting. So I'm responsible for administration of the organization. But the same law says the national head of DPCI will determine the fixed establishment of the DPCI. He is responsible for mobility of the members, that is promotion, appointment, and so on, independently so. So it is a challenge for me, I would say, to this committee. You should look at it very clear. It's either you have a bread, you can't have half a bread, or at some point you don't know how to manage this. It creates management problems, because at some point I will have a viewpoint on a specific matter, and the national head of DPCI, he will see it differently, and it becomes an impasse and a problem. So I think the legislature should decide. DPCI is part of SAPS, managed under the subs by the National Commissioner, or they are out, they are there independent, and they are managing themselves separately given the separate budget. If I can give you practical challenges, every year we allocate budget. We say so much is for, let's say, posts for, let's say, I say, DPCI will give you 500 posts, meaning my expectation is to see that if DPCI there were 50, and I give them, or there were 500, or let's say 1,000, I give them 500 posts. More or less, I expect them to be 1,500. But after you give them the budget, they go and they take the people below, they promote them up, and they remain 500. And the next year you give another money, they take the people below, they take them up, they remain the same number, and they say we are short. Now what do you do? I've got no powers to change whatever they are doing. So they become like, normally the structure is a pyramid-like. The leadership at the top is very minimal and it goes down. And theirs start small and it goes up. Now, and you keep having shortage. For example, not that I accept that the work they do is serious and it requires people with integrity, people that will have sufficient, are being paid enough to can do the job. But it creates a problem. For example, if you take border police and the public order police in subs, border police, I think there are about 7,000 plus in the country. And the commandant head of border police is a major general. Public order police, there are about 9,000. And the head of public order police, the commandant head, is a major general. The DPCI, they are about 2,008 or 3,000. And the national head of DPCI is a lieutenant general. So that is equivalent to a deputy national commissioner, because the law says he must be created equivalent to a deputy national commissioner. Actually, the most senior deputy national commissioner. In other words, even when he gets appointed, he must be paid at the level of a senior deputy national commissioner. And you have a deputy national head who's also a lieutenant general, and you have a divisional commissioner who's also a lieutenant general. And you have about 2.8 or 3,000. Compare that with 9,000 and a level 14 major general. So it's those things that one says, I'm sure they need to be a relook. I'm not saying they shouldn't be compensated well. Well, they are being given an allowance. And as of 1st of October, myself and Minister, we approved a detective investigator allowance for our general detectives, including the DPCI. They're going to also benefit out of that. But the problem here is, yes, how it is managed, it creates a problem. Thank you.
So you acknowledge and accept that this whole, our current system does cause tensions, and you've described some examples.
Yeah, no, I do acknowledge. One school of thought also says that the national commissioner and the 9 provincial commissioners, well, the law says so, that the national commissioner and the 9 provincial commissioners form a board of commissioners. And then, of course, we have got members of the service, and the national commissioner then, in terms of certain proclamations, appoint deputy national commissioners, appoint divisional commissioners, and all other ranks going on. So there is 2 different schools of thought to say, no, there should only then be the senior ranks in subs should only be the national commissioner and the provincial commissioner. And then everybody else should be lower ranks. So, but also another school of thought says the national commissioner can organize and reorganize the service. And in order to manage, you can establish certain ranks. Hence, we have the deputy national commissioners and the divisional commissioners. So it's an area that was never interrogated quite thoroughly, because, of course, the whole police service, you can't have national commissioner and the 9 provincial commissioners alone. But at the same time, You can't have the National Commissioner alone at head office managing the police service. Otherwise, how are you going to deal with all these other facets? Hence, the necessity to have the other lieutenant generals managing certain groupings of divisions.
Yeah, so for example, attention clearly is where the head of the Hawks, appointed by the minister, and you've described how that creates problems in terms of even building capacity within the Hawks. It's a decision taken by the head of the Hawks, appointed by the minister. You've described the problem with the ranks and seniority, and it's something that Lieutenant Mkhwanazi touched on. For example, even though he's a lieutenant general, and Sabia is also a lieutenant general, you know, he would expect Lieutenant General Sabia to respect him as a more senior officer in the police service. But even it seems worse for Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi is that here is a person who's been appointed not in terms of the Constitution, but in terms of the Police Act. Sabia is now head of detectives, head of forensics, and now coming sort of into his territory, his jurisdiction in KZN, and wanting literally to pull rank and ordering dockets to be removed from his domain, KZN, and these dockets must be taken to head office in Pretoria. You've heard of that tension described by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. That's why I raise the issue of the appointment procedures and so on. In that, to contextualize it, it's this issue that's raised by Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi.
I did, Honorable Chair, heard of that dispute or contention. Yes, the Deputy National Commissioners and the Divisional Commissioners, of course, the role is when they go and do something in a province, normally you will liaise with the head of police in the province, which is the provincial commissioner. If you couldn't do it immediately, as soon as you finish what you were doing, you then immediately thereafter inform him. For example, if it's a clandestine or covert operation, you can execute whatever operation, but immediately thereafter inform the provincial commissioner. But of course, the removal of dockets belongs to a police station which belongs to the province. So yes, you need to inform him when you do such, when you take dockets.
So is it a matter of just informing him, is a matter of consulting with him, or is a matter where, like Lieutenant General Sabia is coming to say when he appears here, is that I'm the head of the detectives. Any detective that I give an instruction to anywhere in the country must comply with my instructions. I want that docket. I want to look at that docket.
Yeah, that's not how it works. Even myself, I can't just go into a province and say, no, I want that docket. What would be the reason? You must consult the provincial commissioner and tell him why you are doing that which you are doing. If the provincial commissioner is involved in a crime, yes, you might have a reason not to tell him. But if he's not, why would you then just get into a province and do it? It's not that to say if you are a deputy national commissioner, you have absolute power or authority on any detective in the country. You have authority in terms of policy that we will draft, it gets sent into the organization. But when it comes to the implementation of that policy, it is implemented by the provincial commissioner down there. And in case there are problems, they will inform you what is the problem with policy. But when it comes to the execution of the job or the work, the provincial commissioner in that province is responsible for policing there, of course, subject to whatever directives I can give, and or if it's delegated to the Deputy National Commissioner, yes, he can talk to the provincial commissioner. Under normal working circumstances, people will talk, there will be no problem. But if it's a matter of where you must then want to issue an instruction and there are problems, obviously, you do have the national commissioner that you can consult to say, I have a problem in this area or whatever it is. But you can't go into a province and just do anything or act without involving the provincial commission. If it happens, sometimes it does happen, yes, but immediately thereafter, you must bring the provincial commissioner into the picture.
Now there's two issues. Seemingly, the one is, or perhaps I want to ask you to comment. Is that a structural issue? Is it a personality issue? Or is it an issue? Is it a jurisdictional issue? Because surely, if a crime is, because the Act provides for it, isn't it? The Act provides for how you define a priority crime. And we're not going to go through that. So it's a priority crime. It falls under that directorate, doesn't it? Irrespective of whether that crime was committed in any part of the country.
That is correct. A priority crime, yes, it will be a prioritized wherever, doesn't matter which area of the country it happens. And when it comes to the legally priority crimes, of course, that's where we have the DPCI, which is responsible for investigating priority crimes. And it is that head of the DPCI that can declare a specific crime as a priority crime. But generally, crimes that myself and the general police prioritize, there's nothing wrong in that. We can do it anywhere in the country. The structure of the organization is like is a matrix structure. So there are areas where you, for example, the head of DPCI do talk to me, do report certain things to me, but he have got a fixed reporting line with the Minister of Police, and hence the provincial commissioners also reports to me. But under normal circumstances, when people do not have any personalities, they will talk to the deputies. There will definitely not be a crime. It's not the first time that there is a deputy national commissioner and there is provincial commissioner. It has been there all along. And I operated in that seat for, I think, over 10 years. And I never had this type of problems. So I would say it's a personality probably issue. So it's something that can work if people are working together.
Yeah, unfortunately, you can't legislate or prescribe personality issues. But what you can do is to try and avoid those clashes by making sure that the procedures are prescribed and must be followed. In other words, if a procedure is prescribed, stay in your lane. This is what you do, this is what I do. But we're not going to resolve the personality issues today. The problem, isn't it, also that priority crime, the Hawks, they have provincial offices and they have heads in those provinces.
It is correct, they do.
And those heads report to the Director of Priority Crimes, the head of the Hawks.
That is correct, Honorable Chair.
And the provincial directors account to the head of the Hawks. They don't account, say, for example, if a priority crime in KZN, that director is not going to account to the provincial commissioner of KZN.
Yeah, that's correct. But he will attend meetings of the provincial commissioner. He will report whatever he wants to report. And some of the matters he might not report. He will only report to the national head of the DPCI.
So in this case, in this specific instance of the dockets, the 121 PKTT dockets, where the head of priority crimes instructs that provincial director to remove the dockets from KZN and take it to Pretoria. Why would there be a problem with such an instruction, or would you expect that provincial director to consult still with the provincial commissioner of KZN, because that docket is now going to be removed from KZN and taken to Gauteng?
Yeah, the provincial head of the DPCI, of course, as I said, the national head of DPCI is empowered in terms of law to declare which crimes are priorities. So, but when he can, once he have declared, he can, national head can talk to the provincial commissioner to say, I want this following case dockets, through him directly, or he can, through the provincial head of the DPCI, ask or inform the provincial commissioner that such and such a cases are required by the national head of DPCI.
But of course, in this scenario also, I must be fair to you and also make sure that I get my facts straight. Sabia is not the head of priority crimes.
No, he's not. The national head of the DPCI was Lieutenant General Libya, which retired. Currently, there is acting national head of DPCI, which is Lieutenant General Nkosi. So, yes, in terms of, well, in their case, in terms of law, that's how it happened. But in terms of Sabia is not national head of DPCI, and he should work with the provincial commissioner. But also, the working of the DPCI also is not without faults or problems. It does impact policing in a way. Especially, as I said, the way certain crimes are prioritized. For example, when, let's say, cash in transit becomes a problem in the country, the society, everybody else will be looking at me and the police to say we must do something. And the national head of DPCI have declared CIT a priority crime, and he will take those dockets and investigate them. I can establish a task team or say, let's focus on this. And they might come into the meeting with their hands empty. And then I say, we must now analyze dockets and see where is the problem. In certain places, in specific cases, they will bring the dockets, get analyzed, and let's chase the robbers. But in some instances, if they come empty-handed, and they will look at each other with the other detectives and combat teams, and then you have a problem. And they will say, well, it's our mandate, we are busy investigating those dockers. So when they're going to catch the criminals, we don't know. But
No docket.
when it comes to accountability, I must account. So that's the challenge that is out there. But with regard to this case of General Sibia going to a province, taking dockets, no, it's not regulated by, it's not the one regulated by the Police Act of DPCI. No, it's mostly just a liaison with, that's the one that he must just liaise with the province and consult, and then, yeah, they agree on what they do.
Yeah, because Sabia falls under you. You appointed him. He must conform to the your directives as a national commissioner, and where cooperation, consultation is required so that you can make the system work. That must be followed.
That is correct, Honorable Chair.
But if you have a situation as you described, which is quite scary, if not worrying for us as citizens, where they're coming to a meeting and say, hey, where's the docket? No one knows where the docket is. And it's exacerbated, like maybe in the cases that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi is talking about, where this problem is induced artificially by certain people, especially in the case of organized crime. It becomes a huge problem, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, I do agree, yes. It becomes a problem. It's something I'm sure the committee at some point will have to look at on how to structure it. That's why I was saying you cannot have half a loaf of bread. It's either you have a bread or you have no bread. So I think that will be a best solution, because sometimes if you say, no, I want progress on this case, and they've got no obligation to tell you the progress of the case, they report somewhere. So it becomes an issue.
Now, just to round off on the structures, there's the Act, the Police Act, Section 10 makes provision for a board of commissioners, which consists of the national and provincial commissioners. And the function of that board is to promote cooperation and coordination of the service. Now, how many times do you meet this board of commissioners?
We meet once a quarter.
Once a quarter.
But how it is constituted currently is that it is not only the 10 people that you are counting there. We also include, we had quite long deliberations, I think it's before my time, and we included the Deputy National Commissioners and the Divisional Commissioners in the Board of Commissioners. So, yeah, we meet once a quarter. And some of, yes, it's an area, of course, that is subject to deliberations. At some point, we had a board consisting of the 10 coming to give feedback to others. And at some point, as I said, I think it's 2019, before I became National Commissioner, where then we decided to include both the Divisional Commissioners and the Deputy National Commissioners, so that the executive management is all on board of whatever decisions are made in the organization.
Now that is the position de facto, as a matter of fact, but it's not prescribed in the legislation.
Correct, it's not prescribed in the legislation. All we did is just we added the extra people to what is in the legislation.
So would you be in favor of at least what appears to be a fairly obvious an amendment to the legislation, that this board, while it obviously will have to be renamed because it's the Board of Commissioners, it's no longer, because the National Commission and the 9 provincial commissioners, some maybe board of senior management or something like that, where all these heads that you appoint, there's the priority crimes appointed by the minister, all of these heads and the deputies are all included in this this consultative body. Would you be in favor of such an amendment to the law?
Yeah, I would be in favor of such. Hence I took over also. I didn't change it to what it is. I left it the way it is. The reason why I will do that is the current, what is in the legislation, the 9 provincial commissioners and the national commissioner, 10 people. It practically it brings quite a number of challenges to the table. You have 10 people. To put it practically is to say you have 10 people in a boardroom. They are all temporary workers. Myself, if I finish my term, I'm left with about a year left. I think yesterday you asked Mkhwanazi as to how far he goes. I think he said next year early.
March 20.
Yes. Then you'll have somebody who's finishing January next year, somebody finishing December 2025, somebody finishing April next year. So you have 10 people who are in a boardroom to decide and make long-term decisions of an organization. But they are human beings, and they might also have their own interest at times. Now, if we look at it practically, these 10 temporary workers, maybe they are all left in less than 6 years, but they must take decisions, that far-reaching decisions for an organization that will remain there, even after they've left. Even the one leaving next month must take a decision that will have a long-term impact in the organization. So that's what motivated the idea that let's involve people that will have at least carry forward the memory lane, have a brain, that have a memory book of the organization going forward. That's what motivated that. And we have seen it in the past where, for example, a provincial commissioner will promote certain people, and when he moves to the next province, he will promote those very same people above those that he finds in that province, even if he's left with a year or so. So that, well, National must intervene and rectify that, but that's one of the challenges that says, yes, the law says the Board of Commissioners have these 10 people, but practically these people are driving an organization that will be there tomorrow and still in the future. So the interest of the organization will have, it's long term, it's far reaching, it's not short term of tomorrow. And so that's why I will say I'm in favor of the current way of composition, which include deputy national commissioners, divisional commissioners, because you really have interest of the organization. Because if you really have, these ones, I might be using the wrong term, I say they're temporary workers. One is left with a month, one is left with 2, one is left with 3, and they are alone in a boardroom, they are deciding for an organization. It just doesn't augur well. That's my summary. I might be wrong. Thank you.
But General, this board, which may now be renamed, if changes are made which you accept, that board doesn't have any decision-making powers, so it doesn't affect the organization going forward. what I read to you is that section was 10.2 of the Act. It talks about, or the main function of that board is to discuss ways of facilitation and consultation. In other words, these jurisdictional issues, the conflicts that arises from national appointments, provincial appointments, it seems to me that that's the main function of that board, is to iron out any of those differences and issues. So that, quite frankly, it doesn't matter whether the one sitting there from the provincial commission has got a month left or another deputy has got a year or two left. They're not making any decisions that take us into the future. Or I'm not sure whether you were thinking of some other structure.
Yeah, well, if that is the only structure recognized, so they will be making inputs to policy of the organization, which that policy will affect the organization going forward.
Now, in this year, when is the last time that the board met?
Yeah, I can't remember, but it must be somewhere in May, June, I'm sure, somewhere there.
So if you met in May, June, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi would have been in such a meeting. And from what you say, even though it's not prescribed in the Act, your other heads of divisions would also have been in such a meeting in May or June. Would that be correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, he would have been in such a meeting, yes.
So the issues raised by General Mkhwanazi in July on the 6th, were any of those issues raised or touched upon in this Board of Commissioners meeting? If so, why were they not raised? They're clearly issues of national importance, great importance to all of us.
Yeah, no, well, I'm sure he can answer that, but no, they were not raised, as far as I remember.
Could one not have expected Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi to raise it at such a meeting, given, and we're going to refer to some of them, given the frustration on his part that no one seemed to be listening to him. He raised this, he raised it with you, he tries to raise it with the minister. It's not getting anywhere, and then he said, no, because the 6th of July for him was, was the straw that broke the camel's back. He's had enough. He can only now appeal to the general South African population and tell them this is what's happening in the police force. So why, sorry, I'm being long-winded. Why was that not raised in this Board of Commissioners meeting?
Thanks, Honorable Chair and members. Well, I do not have the minutes of the board, but I don't remember the matter being raised at such meeting. Of course, some matters, I'm sure they are sensitive, might need to be raised in certain forums. So I won't be able to say whether he raised it or he didn't raise it, but I don't remember the matter has been raised. So, yeah.
did you know that, or let me ask you a more friendly question. You know Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, you know him quite well. Tell us a little bit about that and whether you have a relationship with him.
Well, I know him as a police official, a young man in the organization. I think I knew him many years ago. I'm not
He
sure.
was a youngster in KZN.
Yeah, I was still a youngster in KZN. I think I was by then a director. That was a brigadier then. I was a unit commander of the public order police in Durban. I think somewhere in the year 2000 or 2001, and he was around for. He came at the unit where I was for special task force selection, and they went for selection in the premises, and at some point, I don't know what happened there. Looks like the instructors cheated them in terms of points during selection. Like if you run or you jump certain kilos or you run whatever obstacles within certain minutes you pass, you don't do this, you fail. So how I know him, he just walked into my office at some point and he said to me, "Ena, you can't tolerate what's happening there." The beggar says, "But I mean, who are you? What do you want?" Then he explained himself that I think he was from Public Order Police, Shepston. He's here for selection for task force, and either two of them and him were robbed or cheated on the selection. They are being made to fail, whereas there's one or two white guys that came behind them. They were made to pass. And so I said, okay, I could see that he was very unhappy. So I went there, the back. Well, I wasn't in charge of those people. They just came to use my premises for selection. So I went to see the instructor and ask as to what was happening. And I did find that, yeah, indeed there is a problem in terms of how they made some pass and some fail. And I said, no, you must rectify this. And they rectified it immediately. And he went for the special task force training. And he came back, stationed at Special Task Force Durban. He worked there. I forgot about him. And then one day he ventured again in my office and said, "No, you can't tolerate what's happening there because the whites are oppressing them and this and that. He wants to go out of this unit." And then I said, "Okay, how many Africans you are there?" I think there were 2 or 3. Amongst over 20 or 8 or 12 whites. And I says, "No, but there is a beginning for everything. You don't run away, you stay there." Then I engaged the section commander in Pretoria for Special Task Force and the divisional commissioner about the conditions. And they addressed them, and then he stayed there for some time. And at some point, he was promoted, I think, a captain at the same unit. And he continued working. And later, I think he was promoted. I don't know whether he was promoted. He became a lieutenant colonel, I'm not sure. But I suspect he might have moved from captain to colonel. Appointed commander of Special Task Force in Pretoria. And he went Pretoria, he worked there. And at some point, he came to say, no, he's tired of this discrimination. He wants out of this thing. And again, I said, but there should be black people in Special Task Force, and there's always a start. If those that we start with, you run away. And we can't tolerate this. And he referred to me, other people, like the guy he found in Durban, that guy is there in Durban, he's not moving anywhere, he's working nicely there, so why can't I be like him? Then I said, but there is a start for everything, then you must stay there. And at some point, I became national head of operations in Pretoria, so he was also falling within my my component. So those challenges still and now and then did come, and I would address them, because as a unit commander where he was, the section commander was a white guy. So, and yeah, eventually became a brigadier or director, and yeah, then he flew on his own. That's how I know him.
So you gave him wings? And he
Yeah,
just
it
took
wasn't easy, but
Well, and he seems to be the same. If he sees or senses or feels that he's not being fairly treated, he will complain and
Correct.
take up the issue. Is that how you know him?
yeah, no, that's how I know him.
Even former Minister Cele described him as a really top cop. You're not surprised with that description?
No, I am not surprised. I know how he thinks and how he works.
But former Minister Cele did, however, say that he's not a politician. And he confirmed last night, he said he's got no interest in politics.
No. He definitely have no interest in politics. He's just a cop doing his work, and that is it.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I think recently they said this fight with General Sibia might be related to the post of DPC advertised. I mean, surely practically it's not possible for him to do that, because, as I said earlier, remember, the national head of DPCI, whoever is get appointed, will be, after appointment, your salary will be based on the most senior deputy national commissioner, which in this case, whoever gets appointed, he will go to the salary notch of Lieutenant General Vuma. He's the most senior now. So now when you go to Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, he has been Lieutenant General over 10 years. So meaning his notch is far more than the most senior deputy. So practically, he can't be applying for a post where his salary will take a dip. So
Is he on 15?
yeah, they're all level 15,
Yeah.
but the salary notch will differ.
But within the grade, there are notches.
Correct, yes.
Yeah. And you're still a higher notch than him. You're still a higher notch than Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi.
That's correct, yes.
But that was also the case in 2011, when he was appointed as the acting national commissioner. You were one of the deputy national commissioners. You recall that?
I recall that.
So this, I wouldn't call him a boy, this youngster who ran into your office, he said, hey, I ran 11 seconds, but they put on my form I ran 13 seconds. And these other white guys who ran 13, 14 seconds, they've now been appointed and I haven't. This same young man, he now gets appointed as the acting national commissioner. What was your reaction?
Well, it was quite surprising, perplexing. I mean, how did it? There were deputy national commissioners. You go and take a major general and he wasn't long a major general for that matter. He was failing you in that rank, and appointed a deputy national commissioner. But of course, remember, the Constitution says the president will appoint a man or a woman as the national commissioner. So The then president, that's what he decided. The problem was we are lieutenant generals. We have an acting national commissioner. He's here in front of us. He is a major general. Now, how do we do now?
So you had to promote him.
Yes, we had to promote him at least to be equal to us in rank. That's how it happened.
And in that relatively, I think it was just under a year, I think he was acting national commissioner for about 10, 11 months. How did you find him as a national commissioner? And you were a deputy.
Yeah, well, he, of course, he was new in the field, so he did work with the deputies well, and he learned fast, and even the divisional commissioners, he did learn fast, and he did his best, I think.
You know now, of course, after many years as a fact, but did you know what the reason was that he then asked to be relieved of that acting appointment?
Yeah, well, he told us that the way he was asked, or the way he was treated by the then minister, he didn't like it. Whatever they said he must do, he didn't like it, so he said they would rather part ways so that he go back where he was.
So, yeah, he alleged, and I think we know some of the detail of that. Out of respect, I don't want to explore that. It's also not particularly relevant to our terms of reference. But it seems he alleged ministerial interference. So he appears to be a man of principle. Is that how you got to know him, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi?
Yeah, no, that's how I understood him that time and now, yes. That they differed on that, and he walked away.
Thank you. Honourable Chair, is this a convenient time to take a lunch break?
Yes, I wanted to say that when you finish this part, it's 1 o'clock. We must break for lunch, and then. Honourable members, we will come back at 2. Yeah, because we started at 11. Yeah.